Very, very simple. You're talking too much and you're doing too much. Every single time. I have doctors will call me and say they're seeing 200 a week and they are maxed. And I just kind of chuckle to myself.
Are you ready to scale your practice and stop feeling overwhelmed? I sit down with Dr. Tim Young and he gets straight to the point. You're rather talking too much or doing too much. Can it really be that simple? On today's episode, that's what we're going to find out. He's here to talk about efficiencies, mastering your craft, and building a practice of your dreams. Let's dive right in. You have what I think most doctors would consider the impossible dream, and that is to have both a high-earning chiropractic clinic while also being able to balance an actual personal life and to spend time with your family and have some degree of work-life balance. I think a lot of doctors find that to be that they have to trade one for the other, and you've proven time and time again that you can have the best of both worlds. And so really my question is how? How will you do it? What are the fundamentals? What are the systems? What are the processes? Like, what are the thoughts that people need to be considering to be able to do the same thing?
I love that question. And what a great segue into this, because that's my whole world. I will tell you, it's kind of funny. I'll share something, a really tiny quick story. Years and years and years ago, I was in another coaching group before I had my own. And my coach, this is a guy who'd been through two divorces, 3 audits. He was a great businessman, but he wasn't good at everything else. And he told me in my face one time, he said, listen, Tim, you can't be a great chiropractor, a great father, and a great husband all at the same time. You got to pick or choose. And in my opinion, to be a great chiropractor, just make a lot of money and then give your money to your wife and kids. And that makes you a great husband and father. And I'll never forget him saying that. And I looked at him dead in the face and I said, well, and I hope I can say this, I call bullshit. I can do it. And when I turned around, my wife was standing right behind me. And I mean, she was like darts going through my head right into him. And then I've done it. You know, I will tell you. So the great question is, how do you work, have $1 billion or $1 million practice and work the hours you want to work and not sacrifice your family? It's called priorities. So I'll give you my priorities right now. Priorities, focus, and discipline. So priorities. The number one most important relationship you will have, and I know everybody's going to say God, yes. But for the sake of this podcast, the number one most important relationship that you will ever have is the one with yourself. When you look in the mirror, that person you see, you have to love them, you have to trust them, you have to respect them, honor them. If you don't, you can't expect anyone else to do that. If you don't trust you, you can't expect your wife to trust you. If you don't respect you or honor you, it's ridiculous because that's called contradiction, right? So that's the number one relationship. The second is your spouse. With 100%, she comes first before the kids, before the practice, before anything. First, it's just my goal. And my wife and I have been together 30 years, and we are on a continual date. In 30 years, we have never ever missed a date night. At least once a week. Sometimes it's 2 or 3, but at least once a week we have date night. It is non-negotiable. Period. Unless one of us is out of the country, but if we're here, date night, and we don't just go and eat dinner and get on our phones. It is connections, and that's going to go. And then my kids, and then the practice, right? And so this is something I'm glad you're asking this, because this is very important for everyone listening to this. When your relationship with yourself is solid, and you have a loving, not just a friendship, not just a roommate, but a loving, passionate relationship with your spouse, and then you have this beautiful love for your kids, that's who you become, right? That is your energy. You have the energy of passion and love. Then you step into your practice, and guess what you delivered within the adjustment, right? If you have a crappy relationship with yourself and a crappy relationship with your wife, and you don't relate to your kids, and then you go to the office and that's who you are, then that's what you're adjusting with. That's what that patient receives from you. And then we wonder why they don't get well, they complain, they have pain all the time, they don't come back and they don't refer. Well, because that's what you deliver to them. So priorities, not only for a balance in life, a grow in your practice, are hand in hand. You cannot live in contradiction and not expect some sort of destruction. So it's very important that you, and this is the key to all this, focused and disciplined, but being present. You have got to be present in everything you do. I did a video for my coaching group this morning called Mastery. And one of my teachers and mentors was Richard Yenny. He practiced for 62 years out of Kansas City. He was world renowned master. Chiropractor, Qigong, acupuncture, taekwondo. I mean, everything. He was that guy. And one of the things he taught me is be present, be a master. Don't just be a manipulator. Don't be a mechanic. Be a true master. And the way you master anything is being present in the moment, right? And so the way we're going to balance it, I will tell you for everybody listening, I've been a practice 30 years. For the last 22 years, I've collected over $1 million a year. Hell, until I hired an associate and another CA, because I'm doing all the coaching now, I needed some help. But when I was at my biggest, well, my largest practice, me and two CAs, I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. So 6 hours a day, 18 hours a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not Thursday and Fridays and Saturdays. You don't, not Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. It's ridiculous. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days, 1.2 to 1.4 million with a 25% overhead. 25% overhead, you guys. Now, here's the key with adjustments only. I don't do a bunch of therapies. I no marketing. I don't sell supplements or all these crazy things. I adjust and I'm focused and present amongst the adjustment. But we talked about this before we started this. So the balance is you got to do the math. If you're going to average $55 a visit, if you want $1 million practice working 18 hours, you can do the math, right? So that means that you're going to have to see a lot of damn people in a short period of time. For the longest time, I was paid 220, 250 a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 650 a week. And I did that for a long time, right? And so the way I was doing it is specific attention on chiropractic adjustment. I was present on a consultation. I was present during their exam. I was present when I did a reported findings. I was present when I adjusted and I helped them up and I told them exactly what they needed. They went up front. My girl simply said, Dr. Young, this place you wanted this many treatment plan. It costs this much. How would you like to take care of it? My staff was present. They looked them in the eye. They were right there. And then they said, can we just use a credit card? I have a 91% paid in full. With my reported findings, it takes 2 to 3 minutes for my reported findings. 32 visits, paid in full, 91 and 92% of the time. Because we're not bullshitting them. We're masters at our communication and we're present. So that's how you maintain a life, like a life. And then here's the thing though, too, brother, this is important. You got me on a rabbit hole now. I apologize. So when I'm in the office, I'm present. But when I walk out of the office, when I walk through my door, I'm present with my wife. I don't bring the office home with me. When my kids are all grown, I got grandkids now, but listen, can I tell a quick story?
Go for it. You're killing it.
Okay. So this goes to what we're talking about. In 2002, I've got 3 kids. I got a busy practice. I mean, at that time, I just broke 350 visits a week. I'm building my practice. This is 02. This is however many years ago, right? So in 1 year, in 2002, this year, I was coaching my son's Little League football team. I was there 3 nights a week, never missed a game. I was going to every one of my middle daughters. Alicia, who's a chiropractor now, she was in Girl Scouts. I never missed a Girl Scout meeting. I was the troop dad, all those things. We were the Girl Scout cookie host. I had to park out in the driveway because our garage was full of cookies. My oldest daughter was an elite gymnast, so she practiced 36 hours a week. I never missed a meet. I was at every single meet, keeping score. And at the same time, I won Doctor of the Year for the coaching group I was in because I was working with other chiropractors, coaching other chiropractors, building this practice. And I won Mr. Oklahoma bodybuilding. I was competing and training in bodybuilding at the same damn time. And I never once missed a date night with my wife, ever. And so I did all of those things at the same time. Everybody's, how? Because I was present in every single one of those things. When I was with my son at football practice, I wasn't thinking about the practice or I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was there with the boy. When I was at Girl Scouts, I was there with my daughter. When I was at gymnastics, I was there. And it's called discipline and mastery. And then when I went to the office, they all was out here. I was with my patients because my patient that drove an hour one way to get a 45-second adjustment doesn't care what I was doing. She only cares about her adjustment. So I can't bring all this other shit into the office with me. That's how you maintain $1 million practice with chiropractic only and have an amazing life. I've got one of the greatest lives. This is why I do so much. My life is ridiculous. I love I love everything about my life, everything about my life. There's nothing about it that I don't celebrate. And we created this. And this is why I push so hard and I do all these things. I'm honored to be with you because I want everybody to live this life.
As
Now I'll take
the
a breath and let you.
yeah, no, that was great. As the saying goes, is something that seems to be ringing true in everything you're saying is I once heard wherever you are, be all there. And I feel like that's so much of what you're
Yes.
talking about. And but I think what you didn't say it, but you're alluding to it. And I guess you briefly said it in the beginning of like understanding priorities because I think the only
Yeah.
way that that's possible is also being willing to you have to give up a lot, right? Like I would be willing to bet you probably don't watch a lot of Netflix. You probably don't like go to the bar and drink with your buddies. You probably don't go
No.
to very many sports games. I mean, other than your kids, right? So like I think you nailed it with the priority piece, and so I think it's equally
Yes.
important to remember that there is a price to be paid, right? Like you are giving up maybe these other things that probably aren't that fulfilling to you, but on some level, it's like you have just such a degree of knowing what your priorities are that it makes that decision easy for you. If I had to guess.
Absolutely. Back when the kids were young, we laughed. We would tell our friends about an episode of Friends we saw, and they're like, "You do know that was like 5 years ago, right?" Well, yeah, we're watching the reruns at 10:30 at night. We watched TV from 10:30 to like or 10 to 10:30 at night when kids went to bed. We watched reruns of Friends or Frasier. That was our TV. Now it's just my wife and I, so it's the dynamics a little bit different. But when we're growing this practice and doing those, we didn't know. No, we didn't do that, but we found time. It's one of those things that it's just quality. It's not quantity, it's quality. And you're right, it's very, very you got to have your priorities so in check. I mean, so in check. I have a lot of young doctors that I'm working with, coaching with. Doc, you don't understand. I got a new baby, and that baby's up crying, and it keeps me awake. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't get to do that. I had three of those, and you don't have to get up with that baby. You get to get up with that baby. You are honored that you have a child that you get to feed and change his diaper and hold. If you're tired the next day, good, because it wasn't that it's not, oh, poor me. It's, oh, thank God. Thank God I'm tired because I got to get up and change my baby's diaper. I have a child. My baby, I just talked to him this morning. He's 28 years old. He's turned 28. And I changed every diaper. I changed every no, no, no. I don't play any of that game. Your priorities are in check. And if you do that, I'm going to go back to what I said. What happens is it carries over. So my priority to my wife is when I wake up in the morning, every thought, word, and action throughout the day is to honor her. I don't know how everybody feels. This is my opinion. I believe in God, and I believe God brought us together. She is a gift from Him. Now, if He gave her to me, I told this to somebody the other day. He was having a hard time with this because him and his wife he's frustrated with her and blah blah blah. And I was like, listen, if God was to come on earth and walk into your home and give you a little golden statue and said, "This is from me," you would put it on an altar and you would worship it all damn day. I mean, it would be your center of your world, wouldn't it? And well, yeah, God gave it to me. He gave you your wife. And so why are you disrespecting that gift? Oh, and this guy just started bawling. He started crying because it hit him in his heart that, what am I doing? And that's how I look at it. Now, we're human. We're going to make mistakes and we're going to have those days. I'm not talking about being perfect. I'm talking about the intention and the attempt to do that. Honor every word, thought, and word, action. But not only that, honor your children lead by example. Honor chiropractic by being principled. Don't take our beautiful profession and bastardize it and water it down to fit a limited version of it. Honor the profession, right? Honor those that have come before us. Honor those chiropractors that gave up so much for the fact that we can be here. Like, that's why I have that pain behind me. I had Frank Arnold, a famous artist out of California, Mexico. I told him the chiropractic story. I sat down with him for 2 hours and told him the chiropractic story. And he commissioned that. If you look at it, you can see what it is. I surround myself with chiropractic. I have a picture of Dee Dee, BJ, and my teacher, Dr. Gibson, right here in front of me. I honor the profession that has given me so much. So we have to be disciplined and honor, and don't take for granted that has given us so much. Priorities.
Something you talked about earlier was how important it is to come from a place of belief and confidence. And you didn't use this word, but I'm going to use it because I think you were saying it, of just like having skills. And ultimately, the
Yeah.
the phrase that comes to mind for me is uh, understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I'm curious
Yes.
as to what have you done, or what would you recommend to chiropractors who, let's say that they believe that philosophy that you're talking about, of knowing that like you have to take care of yourself first and to have the beliefs and the trust and the confidence and the skills to be able to do so. What do you recommend to them, or like how do they do that? How do they establish that? How do they get that set?
So this is a business podcast, right? And you guys, and when you and I talked about it a little bit before. And so one of the biggest questions from chiropractors is how do I, they got business questions, because here's the thing, you go to chiropractic school to become a chiropractor, but you're also a business owner, right? And you've got to run that business. If you don't run the business, it'll run you. And then the next thing you know, you're going to wonder where all your money is and why you're, shutting your doors. But it's real simple. Business is very, very simple in our profession. You have a service, and then you have a fee for your service. And you tell your patients when they come in, this is how much it is. This is how much for an exam, x-ray. This is how much it is for an adjustment. And you tell them that, and then they pay you, and that it's a transaction. Plain and simple. Now, to your question, what I've seen through 30 years of practice is, and this has been watered down through the years, that chiropractors, they do not focus on their art. They go to school and they pass the boards. All right. They spend very little time with their philosophy. I mean, above here, we've got all the green books up there. You can't see them, but they're up there. They don't understand why they're a chiropractor. They don't understand why they just. But then, like you said, let's say they got the science, they passed the boards, whatever. Now they understand what the philosophy of chiropractic. They understand there's an innate intelligence. Okay, that's fine, but you've got to be able to deliver on the goods. You have to have deliver on your service. It's not about talking. It's not about lifestyle changes. That's going on in other countries. There's in Sweden, there's a thing called hands in a pocket chiropractic. You don't even adjust. As chiropractors don't adjust out there, what they're trying to get them to do is just talk to your patients about lifestyle choices. Like, for God's sakes, in my opinion, your technique, your art is the first of all, you got to understand why you're adjusting. But then once you understand why, and I know chiropractors that are weak in their philosophy. They don't even think about it, but they're good with their hands and they still get great results. Your technique is absolutely vital. And we talked about this. What I've seen for 30 years and the destruction of the chiropractic profession, why so many chiropractors fail, is because they're out there, they've got finger paints, and they take this finger painting and they just put a bunch of scribbles on a piece of paper and they put it and try to sell it like it's a Rembrandt. People aren't buying it. They're going to see that and go, that's not a Rembrandt. I'm not giving you money for that. And so what's happening is that's why the joint is so bad. And these young chiropractors that don't know how to adjust, somebody comes in and they get that version of chiropractic, it fails. It will fail every time. It's not going to sustain. And so the actual art of delivering a specific, and when I say specific, T3 on the right through the facet, that is specific. C1 on the left through the facet, that is specific. Fifth lumbar, not manipulating the lower back, not twisting the head and neck, not just beating the shit out of everybody across their back. That was not an adjustment. That's manipulation, and it's gross and it's disgusting. If you will learn how to specifically adjust the spine, first of all, know how to read an x-ray, do a consultation, read an x-ray, see on the x-ray, this is where I'm supposed to adjust and why, deliver that adjustment, you can't fail. That's what's crazy about chiropractic. It works. It's like, Gustin said, chiropractic always works. If it doesn't work, don't blame chiropractic, blame your application of it. You didn't adjust specifically or intentionally. You didn't adjust in the right space. You didn't adjust at all. You just manipulated and twisted, or I don't know what the hell you did. You did some kind of dumbass soft tissue therapy. But I'm going to tell you, this is what's crazy as you guys think about this. How is it that in 6 hours I can deliver 250 adjustments and then they refer, they pay, and they all get well? Because I specifically and intentionally adjusted. I was focused on just that. I didn't manipulate 3 segments or less. Hell, I've got patients driving 2 and 3 hours one way, and I adjust the occiput, and their essential tremors go away, and their, all the migraines go away, all their things. That's not my intention. My intention isn't to heal them. My intention is not to get them to feel better. My intention is not to cure. My intention is specifically, intentionally adjust. To answer your question, you've got to learn how to deliver the goods. They're coming to you to be a chiropractor. Chiropractors just know how. and master it. Don't just, oh my gosh. Here's how I look at it. This is what's going on. I want you guys to think about this, right? Have you ever been to a dueling piano bar?
Yes, they're great. I love them.
Okay. They're great. They're fun, aren't they? You got two guys and they're playing music and they got a tip jar up there and they're playing the piano. They're having fun and everybody's having a great time. And they're going to make a couple, $300 in tips that night. And everybody has a great time, but they're still musicians. I want everybody watching this. I want you to get off here. I want you to go on YouTube and I want you to pull up pianist Carnegie Hall. And I want you to just watch what happens. You've got 1,000 people at Carnegie Hall. They pay $2,000, $3,000 a ticket to be there. A piano in the middle of the room, and the pianist walks out, and you can hear a pin drop. And when she sits down, she lifts the lid, and you can see focus and intention like no other. And when her fingers hit those keys, it is a thing of beauty. She's not making 200 or 300. She's making 200 or 300,000. Piano, what's the difference? And in our practices, you could be dueling pianos. You could be talking and laughing and manipulating and bullshitting with them about their game. Or you could be a focused concert pianist, and they will pay you any price and line up out your door if you are focused on your art. That is the difference. And this is what I teach. I try to teach it. And it's the hardest thing because it's hard. Brother, listen, it's hard to do that. A specific cognitive adjustment is difficult. It's a lot easier just to jump up and down on them. I call those practices though. Pop and pay and hope. Pop and pray and hope they pay. That's what they are. And that's not going to build you a 7-figure practice, gang. Listen, you can build a 7-figure practice if you have 5 doctors in there spending thousands of dollars on marketing, driving all these people in. Yes, you can collect $1 million, but your overhead is going to be 60, 70%, and you're going to be stressed and to be miserable. Or you can focus on chiropractic, be specific, work 6 hours a day, pay attention to what you're doing, and have $1 million practice. It's your choice.
So I've heard you say that 10% of doctors see 90% of the patients. And
Yeah.
I may know the answer to this question, but if you want to elaborate on it, that'd be great. But where I'm kind of going with this is like, what do you think the differentiator is? Obviously, you've been talking about it in the sense of like being a master of your craft. I think that as the cliche statement goes, if you've ever heard Cal Newport talk about this, but it's been said in a few places, of be so good they can't ignore you. I think that's at the heart
Yes.
of a lot of what you're talking about, is like being so good that people want to tell their friends and family about you, and that will do most of the heavy lifting for you. So part of it is obviously mastering your craft, but are there other elements to that maybe a chiropractic business owner isn't thinking of in terms of to be able to get to that point where like they are in the 10% seeing the 90% of the patients? Like what are the other things they should be thinking about?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is that we've got it in our heads that we need to educate our patients. And so, like Bill Estep said, chiropractors ear rape their patients. Talk. But you need to be so good. You need to be such a master at your art that words are not necessary. You have started the healing process by your very presence. Dr. Giddy, my teacher used to say, "Here's this report of finance. You're broke, me fixed, 3,000." Well, Dr. Giddy, that's a lot of money. You got lots of problems. He didn't. Here's the thing: when you are so good at what you do, you don't have the need to explain. You don't have to. You just tell them this is what you're, and they will follow and listen to you because they're in the presence of somebody that knows what they're talking about. What happens is when we are uncertain, and we have anxiety and we have fear of judgment and fear of money and we have a scarcity mindset, then what we do is we fill that void, that nervous energy, with words, needless conversation. And for every word that is not necessary to be said, you're pushing you one step back. I want everybody to remember this. The harder you throw a ball against the wall, the further away it bounces. And you don't have to be, they don't want to be educated. If they wanted to be educated, they'd have went to freaking school. They see doctor on your sign. It says doctor. You are the educated one. Why are you trying to teach them what you know? They don't care. You didn't go in and try to teach them how to be a freaking computer wizard. You just do what you're supposed to do. But the problem is, the 90%, first of all, they never learn their art. They never learn the art. Or if they learned it, what they did was they bailed on it because it's too damn hard. And so they try to build their practices with words. I'm going to tell you, I know some of the very, very top chiropractors in the world. Rob Schiffman, probably one of the largest practices that has ever, in modern history, ever existed. 3,000 to 4,000 visits a week. Rob Schiffman in Indiana. Joe Borio, 600 a day, 1,600 a week. Joey Borio is a great friend of mine. Chris Zano, 3,000 a week, 3,000 a week down in Houston, Texas. Gosh, I have a few others. We're talking about the monsters of the profession. Now, what do we all have in common? Philosophy. When we have different practice models. Rob Schiffman, I don't know if you know, if you ever want to have somebody on here that'll blow your mind. Rob Schiffman has been practicing longer than I have, and he is, the story goes, he's seen 1,100 in one day. Now, I don't know if that to be true, but I wouldn't be surprised. This man can quote every Bible verse in the Bible. He's that guy, and he lives in a different world when it comes to delivering chiropractic. But when Rob and I get together, Joe and I get together, Chris and I get together, Benny Matthew out in Wales, he had one of the largest practices in the UK, and they shut him down. OU wrestler saw 600 pediatric patients a day. They shut him down. The other governments. When we get together, here's what we talk about: philosophy, the principle, the chiropractic principle behind what we do. It is a sacred trust, and we guard it well, and we have it in our hearts. And so when we go into the offices, we have no need to talk. We don't have time to talk. We don't have time. We got too many people to adjust. And so when you have the principle, you have the understanding of what chiropractic truly is, and it's in your heart, and you own it, and it owns you, and you deliver an adjustment from your soul. When you make that adjustment, man, it resonates, and people come pouring through your door. But if you're uncertain and you don't understand what it is you're supposed to be doing, then you got to fill it with education. You got to talk to them. You got to talk them into it. You got to educate them. You got to give a 45-minute consultation, and it's just all ridiculous. That's 90%. The 10% have a very clear understanding of what they do. They know who they are. They know what they do, and they damn sure know why they do it. And then and I didn't wear it. I have a t-shirt that I've given all my members. We have a very simple philosophy: tell the truth, deliver on the truth. Here's the truth. This is what I need to see you. This is how many times, and this is why. And then you know how to deliver on that, and then your practice blows up. It's really that damn simple. 90%. Here's the thing: the average chiropractor sees 80 a week. That's the average. If you look at that in the numbers, that was the last thing that came out in chiropractic economics. 80 a week. I can see 80 in 3 hours with my eyes closed. So why can I see 80 in 3 hours and the average sees 80 a week? Just what I just said right there. That's the 90-10 rule right there.
I'm glad you brought up the truth thing. I've heard you say that before. So let's role play for a second here. Let's assume that a chiropractor hasn't mastered their craft yet. Let's say that they aspire to be a master of their craft, and they are, but obviously you got to see patients, and it takes time and it takes effort and it takes seeing a lot of patients to be able to get really good at your craft, to be able to see a lot of people, and you learn to get faster and all those things. So what would be their truth then? I mean, is the truth for them then that they're honest with their patients about, like, hey, listen, I'm not great at this right at this moment, but I'm getting better at it. Here's the truth. Here's what I think I can accomplish. Like, what does it look like for them?
No, you don't plant that seed. You don't plant that seed. It's an art form, right? It's like anything else. What you got to know that you're working on it. But when you're with a patient, you got to be intentional about becoming better. Like, still to this day, I've delivered over 1 million. I was in the office this morning. I've delivered over 1 million adjustments in 30 years. When I focus, when I make an adjustment, my intention is to be better than the one before, even after all these years. I don't just go through the motions. And so when you're with a patient, you need to get, all of you need to get, you come to my MST seminars. I got one coming up next in July. Just go on ChatGPT and put chiropractic technique seminars. Centropy. There's a bunch of those guys out there that are doing a great job. Study, go learn, go find a chiropractor that's good. Actually put time into your art. But when you're in the practice, telling the truth is this: chiropractic is the adjustment. The adjustment is chiropractic. That's the truth. If I put motion in this joint, I don't care what this patient comes in. They can come in with epilepsy or migraine or neck pain. I don't care. Symptoms are irrelevant, like Reggie Gold used to do. He would write all their symptoms down. He goes, "That it? Is that everything wrong with you?" And they say, "Yes." Then he would take that piece of paper and wad it up and throw it in the trash. He goes, "Now, let me explain to you what chiropractic is, what it's not." I don't have the guts to do that. But what I will tell them is, my job is to look for stress in the spine. I'm going to take an x-ray. I'm going to listen to your complaints. Then I'm going to look at the x-ray. Then I'm going to palpate. Then I'm going to put these together. And there's a stress. Stress is caused by restricted joint motion. A lack of motion causes stress in a joint, inflammation of the nerve tissue, disruption of proper health, nerve transmission, brain function, cell function. You can go down the rabbit hole if you want to. It's irrelevant. Stress on the joint causes stress on the nerve. Whatever happens after that is not our responsibility. That's innate trying to adapt. My job is to find that stress, put specific motion in that joint, remove the stress by the joint motion, maintain motion, and allow the body potential to heal. That's all we do. That's the truth. That is the truth. And then you deliver on it with the adjustment. The truth is, my job is to put motion in the joint and give the body the opportunity to heal. Reggie also said this: the power that made the body heals the body. No, it doesn't. It can, but it doesn't have to. The most brilliant quote ever. That should change the lives of everybody that just heard that. That should change your practice paradigm forever. The power that made the body heals the body. It doesn't have to. You cut your finger off, it will not grow back. It will not. You got patients coming in with 1,000 different symptoms, 99 of them, one get well. That one that doesn't, and then you give up on chiropractic. That's what freaking happens. It's weird. So our job, the truth is, the adjustment, putting motion in the joint, that's the truth. And then you got to deliver on it. That's why I say tell the truth. And yes, and here after 30 years, I'm still trying to get better. So I'm not going to tell a patient, well, I suck, but I'll be better next week. Now you planted that seed. You do the best you can. And as long as your attention is there and you put motion in it, tell them when to come back and keep working on it. That's how you build a practice, right?
So let's say that somebody's in that place where they know their truth, they've mastered their craft, they're seeing, for the sake of this conversation, they're seeing roughly max capacity of how many patients they can see, and they're hoping to scale their practice. What are I know you've coached hundreds of chiropractors. What are like maybe the top couple, or what is even like the major operational bottleneck that you see with clinicians or practices to be able to scale?
Very, very simple. You're talking too much and you're doing too much. Every single time. I have doctors will call me and say they're seeing 200 a week and they are maxed. And I just kind of chuckle to myself. I said, I saw 217 on a Monday with one CA one time. I wasn't maxed. So why are you maxed? Well, blah, blah, blah. And they saw 200 with 3 CAs and they're maxed. Because you're talking too damn much. You're talking too much. You're not articulating the message clearly. Einstein said, if you cannot articulate your message simply, you don't understand it well enough. You don't understand the subject. So they're talking too much, too many works, too many useless works, and they're over adjusting. They're doing too many things. They're coming in, they're doing soft tissue work, they're palpating every segment, they're adjusting, all the things, they're doing all this, they're doing all that. Then they set them up and then they try to give them instructions and they try to give them exercises. It's just too much. And that is it. And no one's listening is going to want to hear that. And a lot of times you're too close to it, but it's real simple. I have doctors been in practice 30 years, joined my coaching group, and after 30 years, one in Sweden, just now, I posted it. I was in Sweden about a month and a half ago, 3 weeks, tripled his practice. In 3 weeks, he tripled his practice. Now, stop and think about it. How in the hell does anybody triple a practice in 3 weeks? He quit talking so damn much, and he quit adjusting so much, what he did was he created a vacuum and opened up room for everybody to come in. They started referring and realized they didn't have to wait. Because if anybody, here's the thing, you want to see a practice killer? Set up a hidden camera in your waiting room and watch a patient look at their watch while they're waiting on you and they're bullshit with another patient instead of adjusting them. They will not refer to you. They will not refer to you. And they just won't drop in. I had 76 walk-ins one day. Not on the books, just walked through my door, 76. Why? Because they could. Because they could. They knew they could show up. So that's one. And then most chiropractors, they just do too much. They think they have to move every bone in the body, and you don't. And so, and then what's crazy is my kids that start with me in chiropractic school, and they drop, just go into practice with these principles. Hell, Tyler, also in Springfield, Missouri, my hometown, 3rd year in practice, 450 a week, collected $800,000 a year. It's all he's ever known. Kaylee Alex in Australia, 2nd year of practice, over 400 a week in a small country town. I said, Kaylee, how's that possible? She goes, Doc, you said I could. So come on. So if we've got in Australia and Springfield, Missouri and Indonesia and Malaysia and all over the world blowing their practice, and Sweden blowing their practice, the only excuse you have is you don't want to. You would rather talk, you'd rather bullshit, you'd rather have conversations, you'd rather get them to like you instead of adjust. That's the key. Quit talking so damn much. Quit doing too much. Focus on what you're supposed to. Help them up and get them out, and your practice will explode.
Hmm.
There's
I
no,
mean,
there's no hidden secret.
do you have basically just like an open door policy at your clinic then? So like if your hours are open and
Yes,
somebody walks in, you're just like, let's go. Like there's
right
no,
there.
you don't ever
New
turn.
patients, new patient. No, they show up when we put them on a schedule. Now they schedule, but if they just show up, they get seen right then. They get right in line, right in line. I've always been that way. Even new patients, we can have a new patient walk in. They're going to fill out paperwork. They're going right back to consultation.
So I'm imagining what I can hear a lot of chiropractors say, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times. So I'm sure you have a good answer for this, but I would be willing to bet the pushback you get is burnout. I would guarantee you that most of them tell you that it's exhausting. They're tired. How can you see that many
Yeah.
people? By the end of the day, I'm exhausted. I can't keep going. I'm going to burn out. What do you say to those doctors?
Oh, they're so pretty. You know what? Here's the thing. The only reason you're tired because you're wasting energy on needless things. Yeah, I'd be tired. I get told that a lot. I said, no, I don't want to see as many as you're seeing. I said, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to see that many doing it your way either. I wouldn't want it. If I had to spend all that time talking and stretching and soft tissue and bullshitting with everybody, I'd be exhausted too. I remember when I saw the very first time I saw 200 in a week. I worked 5 days. I worked Monday through Friday back then. I was wiped out. I remember. We talk about it, my wife and I talk because we were going out of town, and I always drive. She had to drive. I was too damn tired to drive. Fast forward 250, 260 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I come home Wednesday night, and I'm ready for date night. Let's go. I'm fine because I didn't waste all my damn energy on needless thoughts, words, and actions. That's just the key. That's it. No, you guys, listen. Look at it this way. Here's I'm going to give you the best analogy. When you take an x-ray, right? You're taking an x-ray. If you want a crystal clear, perfect x-ray, you collimate in, right? You bring your collimator. Everybody knows how to x-ray. You collimate in. And what that does is when that x-ray generates and it throws those electrons through there, those x-ray energy, it focuses it right there to get a crystal clear picture, right? Open the collimator. What's that called? Scatter radiation. Scatter radiation. And what's your picture look like? Shit. It's blurry because your energy is went everywhere. Same way in your practice. Every single visit, collimate. Focus your energy on the adjustment, not conversation. Focus your energy on the adjustment, not soft tissue work and stretching and all the bullshit. No wonder you're tired. You're talking too damn much. If you're having a conversation with every single patient, yes, that is exhausting. But I can see 250 in a day and I adjusted 3 segments or less. I'm fine. That's easy. That's a walk in the freaking park. The only reason you're tired is because you're wasting energy needless. That's it. And here's the thing. And this is what's funny is with my coaching group, and I know we're running late on time. I'm the only coach on the planet that has taken my phone, put it up behind me in my office, and recorded me in the office. I've got a video. I've got many of them. I just did one, but I have one video in particular. I saw 44 with one new one and one reported findings in the first hour. I saw 113 in 3 hours, and I recorded it. So the doctors that join my group, they get on and they watch that. They go, shit. Well, that's easy. I told you it's not that hard. You just have to pay attention to the adjustment. He said, and I said, it almost looks boring, don't it? Yeah, it's boring. And I only have one table, one ring, one table. I open the door, they can walk out, the next one walks in. I don't have multiple tables and multiple rings. I don't do that. I don't have to, right? But I also don't have to pay for referrals. I get 50, 60 new word of mouth referrals every month because I'm focused on the freaking patient, not on a needless conversation. So that's it in a nutshell.
So I'd be remiss not to ask you about like looking forward and emerging trends and using some of the technologies that are coming out. It's hard not to hear people talking about AI obviously these days. I'm just curious as to like, what have you noticed in the profession of chiropractic in terms of like, what are people using or not using for that matter? Or what are some technologies you see moving forward or ways people can, amplify or you get more leverage in their business? Because at the end of the day is like, I think, yes, like there is the degree of learning how to focus and get good at your craft and to provide good adjustments. But also too is like, if you could do that, but then also amplify, whether it's through your messaging or whatever the case might be, I think that could be beneficial to a lot of practices. I'm just curious as to what you've seen.
Yeah, two things. One, and I think it's going to really be beneficial for our software. If I use Platinum software, I get asked that all the time. If you're seeing that many people, how do you get your notes done? Well, Platinum's beautiful, and they could I swipe a card, my notes are done like that. And I know that AI is going to take over all softwares, and it's going to be one of those things that we're just going to literally say next, and it's going to generate a note. I mean, I know that's coming, but but then also the landscape is changing chiropractic, and I've been talking about that a lot. It's because of AI and all the new technology and social media. Yeah, we can get our message out. My daughter is 7th year in practice, and she has one of the largest pediatric practices in the world. She saw 73 pregnant women in one day here recently. She sees 80, 100 babies a day, 7 years of practice, right? And she's got every midwife, every doula, every OBGYN, every referring. She can't even see hardly a new patient. She's seeing so damn many, right? And she's walking distance to my office. She's killing it. She uses social media. She uses Instagram. When I started my practice, we didn't even have the internet yet. So I never, it was the old way. Hi, I'm Dr. Young. Come see me. She used Instagram to get her message in, but all of those technologies are great. Get your message out, get your notes done quicker, make your office more efficient. But at the end of the day, you got to deliver on the goods. It doesn't matter how big your message is and how great your marketing is and how great your brand is. When they show up in your shit, you got a bunch of holes in your bucket. You can have the most beautiful, shiny, beautiful bucket in the world. You can market that bucket. You can use AI to make that bucket just sing. But if there's holes in it, you're just constantly going through it. You got to go back to the core thing. You are a chiropractor. What does that mean? Understand it and then deliver on it. Yes, those things are going to be great. But Chat GPT is my best friend right now. I do so many things with it. A lot of times, because I'm just an old school chiropractor and all this new crap, I'm like, hey, Chat, what the hell does this mean? So I got to use that. But for the most part, those things are great. But man, you cannot neglect what it is we do. Here's the thing. Last thing I'm going to say about this. People do not get in their car, drive across town with a migraine headache because you're using AI. They don't. They are not doing that. They do not have somebody carry them in because they can't walk because you've got the latest version of TikTok or whatever running your practice. They do it because you understand with a chiropractic adjustment, you can help them. That's why they come in. Do not forget that.
Yeah, I've heard you say that the most important thing in today's world is just that connection, whether it's eye to eye, heart to heart, and making that happen with your patients.
Being present. I have a whole video series in my coaching program called Connection. That's how you get word of mouth referrals without asking for them. Be freaking present. I use this all the time. When you were dating your wife, when you guys went on a date, did you have cue cards under the table going, reading them and like reciting a script? No. If you did, you didn't get married. She's like, you're an idiot. Well, when you're trying to remember a script, when a patient comes in and you're trying to say something and someone else tells you, opposed to connecting and communicating and talking with, not at somebody, man, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Mm. Well, this conversation has been incredibly fruitful, and honestly, I appreciate the time. And I do have one last question, though. And so,
Go right ahead.
So if you were to give your best piece of advice to somebody that wanted to build a 7-figure practice or are in the midst of growing and scaling their 7-figure practice, based on all the conversations you've had with hundreds of chiropractic business owners and recognizing the challenges and the problems and the things that they deal with and the most common bottlenecks that they run into, what is maybe the best short, simple piece of advice that you could give them that would help them to continue to scale their practice?
So I would do 3 things. And there's many of them, and I'm going to give the 3 biggest things. Go into their office first thing in the morning. Get there early. Get a notepad. I got yellow notepads everywhere. Get a yellow notepad and start writing down 1 through as many as you can write down. Everything in your office that isn't 100% necessary. If you have plants in your office, are those plants necessary? No, get them out. Every procedure, everything on the wall that creates conversation is not chiropractic. Every conversation you have, everything in that practice, the up in the front, what your girls are doing, read your own paperwork. If it's like 30 pieces of paper that are unnecessary, remove everything that isn't necessary. Remove it. Get it down. There's a book called The One Thing. Everybody get that book, The One Thing. Read that. Only do the number one most important thing that gets the greatest effect. Don't do 1,000 little things to get side effects. One thing. That's the first thing. Remove all of this other things. Second thing, go through everything you're spending money on and reduce that. Get your overhead down. I know I knew a practice one time that was collecting $3 million a year, but their overhead was 82%. He had 16 employees and he was bragging, I got a $3 million practice. Who cares? You're living in an apartment, dude. All right. So remove overhead. Go through and if you're ordering face paper and you're paying $3 a roll for it and you can get it for $2.40 a roll, then change your freaking face paper. I mean, be a business owner. That's part of being a business owner too. That's the other thing. And the last thing is get a coach, get a mentor. I did years ago, and it was what turned my life around. We went from living in an apartment, five of us in a in a 2-bedroom apartment, to struggling to $740 every 2 weeks for a family of 5, struggling to $1 million practice because I got a coach who taught me quit thinking this way, quit doing this, do this. Well, then I surpassed the coach. I became the coach. And then so when I passed that, then I started my own, and that's what I'm giving out. I'm not saying come to me. There's a lot of great coaches out there. You talked about Stephen Franson, Brett Glowacki, Ryan Reeder. There's a bunch of amazing guys out there. But if you want to scale your practice, don't reinvent the wheel. Go find somebody you resonate with and do what they do, and then take that and run with it. That's the best piece of advice I can give.
What's your plug? Where can people find you? I know you're active on Instagram and you got an event coming up, I think, in July, right?
Yeah. The last weekend of July, Focus OKC. We will have the best lineup of speakers that chiropractic has ever seen. And I'm putting my name on it. It's July 25th and 26th. The Florianis are coming in from Australia. Billy DeMoss is going to be there. Fred Barge's daughter, Patty, and her daughters, Fred Barge's granddaughter, they're speaking. We have some of the top chiropractors, top earning $1 million practices, high volume practices that no one has ever heard of, that I know personally that are going to be hitting that stage. I can't wait to go because I'm going to sit and Stu Bittman. Oh my gosh, everybody! I'm going to sit in the crowd the whole time. I'm the last speaker because I don't want to miss anything. Right. So that's focusokc.com or focusfoundations.com. That's my coaching group. If you want to hear more about, how to scale your practice, I can help you with that. Also, just so everybody knows, we're talking about technique. July 24th, I have what's called my MST Masterclass on technique. At that Thursday, you can also go to focusfoundations.com and get all that information. So focusfoundations.com is everything I do. Man, show up and we will change the damn world.
Tim, your passion bleeds from you, and I appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show, man.
I'm honored. Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't go too far, but I appreciate you very much.